Hi, Sarthak.
Uh, Hello. Finally, I
What's up?
joined.
Okay. What's up?
Yeah. So my, so I'm a law student. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
my work is to get into the nitty gritty of details, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to continue the conversation about reservation, which
Okay.
was being said by the previous person. I forgot his name. That there's a difference between affirmative action and um, reservation.
Ajinkya.
So
Huh.
on reading some, on reading some cases about, let's say the U.S. history. I don't know about the Indian penal history, but the Noah Country versus Virginia County. I think that's the case number
Are
where
you a lawyer in US law or Indian law?
I haven't read the Indian law, so I wouldn't consider myself anywhere near that
So do you
area of
practice law?
expertise. No, I'm a student.
You're a student of law in the US and you study US law.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So while I was just thinking about it philosophically, and a large part of law is philosophical in nature, I think the core issue, even though the goals align, they're still very
Mm-hmm.
different in the sense that an Obama's daughter, which is very, very privileged, not by the color of her skin, but
Mm-hmm.
by her family background and what
Yeah, her
else.
father's political connections and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think affirmative action does not a much better job, but the best job in taking her into in taking not did not taking her into consideration for the reservation thing. Because
Okay.
in my own personal experience, I completed my 12th grade in India in an Indian high school, and a lot of my friends as well who were very influential, some politicians' kids from I think SC, ST, and OBC, one of the three. Uh, I don't
Hmm.
know, castes. I don't know what like
Categories.
castes
Categories.
categories get into very good admissions with all the privileges, and I just thought that they're taking a very deserving SC, ST, OBC person's seat. I think
Hmm.
affirmative action takes that into account and does not have that kind of disadvantage. There's
Okay.
another other philosophical arguments against reservation, but can you respond to that?
Hmm. I would say that the example that you gave about Obama's daughter kind of sort of applies here also, although it's not that it's a bit of an it's a bit of a stretch to say that, like, it's like there are people here who say that if Muslims are disadvantaged in India, then how is Shah Rukh Khan a star? And it goes the other way also. If Shah Rukh Khan is a star, does that mean there is no disadvantage to Muslims? No, there is.
Hmm.
The fact that one person from a marginalized category has managed to make a name for themselves in the national landscape does not mean that social inequalities disappear. The fact that Obama was president and his daughter is super advantaged does not mean that everyone who is a person of color has an advantage in America.
You're just misconstruing my argument. I'm not saying that Muslims are not oppressed or SC, ST, OBC are not oppressed or blacks are not oppressed. I'm
Mhm.
saying all of them are very much oppressed. I'm just
Mhm.
saying reservation doesn't deal with that problem properly, and affirmative action is the answer. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So I will need to understand more about the details of affirmative action and how it is different from a reservation in
It's
order to
just
come to
one
any
on a
conclusion about
case on case basis. So if person is black, they will also
it.
look
Mhm.
at the person's okay how much the family earns. They will also look
Mhm.
are the people are his parents educated. So let's say an Obama's daughter will get less of a preference over an orphaned, very poor white guy, even though in reservation they'll not make a distinction.
Yeah, so this is a familiar old argument that we hear in India about how reservation should be on the basis of economic conditions,
And I'm not
right?
saying that. You're again misconstruing my argument. I'm just saying it should be on a case to case basis. So economics, the parents are educated or not, a myriad of
So,
factors.
what are
So
your
I'm not.
views about the feasibility of it being on a case to case basis? Like a single university can look at all the
Hmm,
applicants and come to conclusions about it on a case to case basis, right? But then you
hmm.
also have cases where the choosing faculty in the university itself is casteist in India. They make distinctions on the basis of their preconceived notions about how much advantage someone has had in life. When the president of India goes to a temple, they're made to stand outside the chamber of where the deity is because of their caste. So
I think
caste
in
is
the.
such an
Sorry.
ingrained part in India, an ingrained part of the way we look at reality in India, that a case by case basis seems like it will still leave out a lot of people. I'm like I will be the first person to admit that there may be false positives and false negatives, right? But
Hmm.
the fear of false positives and false negatives should not prevent us from making policy that is more general in nature. If
No,
you
mhm.
if go on.
No, sorry, I just, you were saying
No, no,
something.
go on.
So I think this is a very, very philosophical argument. It's a populist argument where there's no one true I, where every person has a bias. But that doesn't take away from the case on case basis, where in theory, at least in theory, affirmative
Mm.
action is much, much better. I can agree that in India, because the population is so large, because the seats are so large, and there's too many problems as a country in India's education system, it might not
Mm.
work, and maybe reservation is a cop out from the real things we have to do. But I'm just talking about
Which
theoretically.
is well, I would be interested to know what you think, which is the real thing we have to do. What is that real thing?
The real thing we have to do is, let's say our country is much less populated, we should be able to do affirmative action where an upper caste orphaned child who's like, let's say his arm is cut off, should be
Mm.
given a reservation more advantages over an SC student who is some politician's son and has guns in his house, like, the people in
But
India.
surely, Sarthak,
Yeah.
if there's a child with an arm cut off, there are
Hmm.
already measures in place to help someone like that, right? Why does that have to impinge upon caste-based reservation?
Oh,
Why are
I
we
didn't know that.
working under the
I'll give
assumption?
another example where there won't be a.
No, no, I'm saying, listen. If there
Sorry.
is someone with a physical handicap, if there is
Yeah.
someone with an absence of money, if there is someone who's disadvantaged in 17 other ways, there are
Hmm.
other schemes which take care of them, right? Why does their welfare have to impinge upon caste-based reservation, which is about a very specific thing,
I don't know
which is
about any
casteism?
other advantage given to any other of the 17 categories.
You
Maybe
gave a
I'm very,
hypothetical
very ignorant
example.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there is already measures for poverty alleviation in India. There are also laws that make life easier for uh, people who don't have access to family resources. There are also, I'm sure there must be, a lawyer might be a better person to talk about this. It is not
Hmm.
as if the only concessions being made in Indian society and Indian law are for people from marginalized castes. We have other measures in place for other things. I'm saying when we talk about welfare, why does it always seem like you give the poor something, you give women something, you give these people something, and then if you have something left, you can give it to the people with the backward castes.
That's
That's my
again
point.
like you're just again and again misconstruing. I'm just not against getting giving the disadvantaged something. I'm just saying Obama's daughter or the one of my politician's friend's son should not get something because they're not deserving for that space. And again,
If
there's no
Obama's
true I
daughter
which can decide if.
okay, how about this, Obama's daughter applies to a college where the majority is white,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the faculty is completely white, and the people who are in charge of choosing students are also white.
Yes.
Does she deserve a little bit of a consideration there?
No, because another black student who's much more disadvantaged should get that
There is no
consideration.
other black student. There is just her and all this whiteness.
Okay, in that hypothetical scenario, yes, I would say yes.
Yes. We are like, so don't, you have been given plenty of hypothetical scenarios. I gave you one. I'm saying that
No, I
within
haven't.
specific context, you haven't. You just told me about this poor upper caste kid with whose arm is cut off.
No, let's just say because you're saying that, because let's say when I was applying to my IITs or my NITs or my SRCCs, so
Mhm.
there was only SC, ST, OBC general. There was no orphan child. There was no, okay, your family is very, very
Orphaned,
poor,
see,
below
listen,
poverty line child.
orphan child is not a socially marginalized background. There is no community of orphaned children. It happens.
That's
It
why
is
I'm against
something that
reservation.
it
Hmm.
is necessarily something that happens on a case by case basis. It appears to me that I have not been misconstruing your argument at all, because your the thrust of your argument is that welfare needs to happen. There are plenty of poor people. All the poor people needs to be treated the same, and you're kind of closing your eyes to the fact that even within this poor person and that poor person, there is an additional disadvantage that the second guy has on account of their caste.
No, I'm not saying all poor people should be given advantage. I'm saying all disadvantaged people should be given advantage. And in that disadvantaged word, there are 17 factors, out of which caste is one, out of which your color is one, at least in the US, and economic factors are one. 17 others, orphanage, or how educated your parents are, multiple factors. So I'm saying disadvantaged people should be given consideration, not like,
Nobody
okay,
is
we don't, we're
disagreeing
not.
with the fact that disadvantaged people should be given consideration. But you are making a distinction between disadvantaged person one and disadvantaged person two, and saying that this disadvantage is overriding the conditions that arise out of that disadvantage.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm
No, it
saying.
doesn't. It does not.
Uh, like, I think if anyone does a good faith argument in this, like an Obama's daughter should be given less consideration considering a white child from a very
Already,
drug
already,
addicted.
already went to that example. If Obama's daughter is going to be the thing that you argue on, you have to put her in a situation where all her advantages are neutralized on account, and the only difference that remains is on the basis of her skin color.
No, then the white person should also be given, should also have a neutralized advantage.
In a college where every faculty member and every student is white,
No, where every one person has educated parents, whereas himself has
I'm
drug
saying
addicted
in
parents.
every other way, everyone is equal, except that Obama's daughter is not white.
No, no, you again,
Yeah. So
Obama's
anyway, yeah,
daughter.
yeah, we're going in circles now. Sarthak, thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.